hope we have enough storage.
Oh, that would be a good thing.
So, Bill,
Yes.
thank you for having me for the interview.
No problem.
We're gonna talk about standards and values.
Okay.
So I've got some questions for you, and we're gonna just talk and
Sure.
make it a nice conversation.
Absolutely.
Right. Can you tell me where you're from?
I am from the state of Kentucky in the United States of America. Specifically, the city that I grew up in is called Fairdale. It's a suburb of the city of Louisville, which is the largest city in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And for how long are you now in Holland?
I've been here a little over 2 years.
2 years.
Mm,
Okay.
2 years, 2 months, something like that.
Okay. Okay. And can you tell me what's the biggest difference between America and Holland you've seen until now?
Actually, it's twofold. Number one, of course, is the language, which I don't
Yeah.
even count.
Okay.
I would expect. I'm in a foreign country that, speaks a different language. But I would say that the difference is, and the way I put this, and I'll have to find a better way to explain it, is, and I just thought of it, the term I use when I'm talking to my American friends is common sense.
Yeah.
But actually, it's personal responsibility.
Yeah.
For example, the dike that we live in front of.
Mm-hmm.
In America, there would probably be some government project to build a fence up around it and put up huge signs: "Do not climb the fence. Don't fish. Don't."
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to put a gate in front of every dock. And here, my dog was chasing a duck one day and went for a swim.
Yeah.
But, and that's the thing. In America, they overprotect everything. They overblow everything.
Okay. Yeah.
And here it's like, okay, you've got to take a little bit of responsibility. It's a dike.
Yeah.
There's water.
Yeah.
It's over your head.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is that in the Netherlands, you're expected to take a level of responsibility.
Yeah.
One thing that I find also kind of interesting on a side note, illegal immigration is a huge problem in America.
Yeah.
Our borders between our neighbors in the south of Mexico and the neighbors in the north in Canada are very open.
Yeah.
Of course, there's talk of a fence, but anyway. The problem that we've got is, even with legal immigration, instead of encouraging these people to learn English and to assimilate into the society, they cater. If you come from a foreign country, for example, if you and your family move,
Mm-hmm.
they would try to find somebody that spoke enough Dutch to teach your kids in Dutch rather than teaching them English.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that in America, because here, I was told the day they gave me my visa, you have 3 years to take the Inburgering 1 test,
Yeah.
the level 1
Yeah.
integration test,
Yeah.
which is going to be my Dutch skills, which are coming along but poor. And then there's going to be a slight bit of history in that,
Yeah.
probably who's the king, what
Yeah,
are the colors
yeah,
of the
yeah.
flag, stuff like that. And I enjoy that, because it was made very clear to me that I'm going to be a part of this culture, whether I want to be or not, which of course I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think those are probably two real big differences that I've noticed.
Okay. And how do you feel about that?
I have no problem with it. I'm struggling with my Dutch, although my Dutch, what's amazing me is I'm starting to use an app to learn Dutch.
Okay. Yeah.
And what amazes me is how much I already know.
Okay.
But it's simple phrases, simple words I already know.
Yeah.
Of course, the sentences are starting to get a little more complex and a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And that, I think if I keep consistently with this, my Dutch will come along with
Yeah.
it, and I'll be a lot more comfortable when I take the test later this
Okay.
year.
Okay. And so you told me the biggest difference, and do you have the maybe an example for a difference in how you say traditions?
Strangely enough, and this is not direct but indirect, the Netherlands doesn't recognize as many government holidays as we do in America.
Okay.
And some of them are, to an American, unusual.
Okay.
In America, we have government holidays, I think, every month of the year, literally. There is
Every month.
a government, for example, in January, there's a holiday, a government holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.,
Okay.
who was a civil rights
Okay.
leader. In February, it's
But
President's...
everybody is free then.
All the government workers
Okay,
and
yeah.
most smaller businesses
Okay.
honor the day.
Yeah.
But obviously, stores are still open. They have Martin Luther King Day sales.
Yeah.
And a lot of it depends on the company because the companies aren't required, but the government is shut down
Okay.
for that day. And conveniently, it's on a Monday.
Yeah.
So the workers get a long weekend. But February is a day to honor all the presidents. Either March or April, and actually March and April is kind of weird because they celebrate Easter, but since Easter's on a Sunday,
Yeah.
only the workers that work on Sundays would get that day off.
Okay.
Which here we celebrate Easter Monday. Easter Monday is not celebrated in America.
No?
No.
Okay.
And then in May is Memorial Day
Yeah.
to honor all those that have been killed
Yeah.
in war. June is Flag Day to honor the day that the American flag was adopted.
Yeah. And you have a day off then.
Yeah, and then July 4th is Independence
Yeah,
Day.
Independence Day, yeah.
August there isn't one. September is, of all things, Labor Day. You get a day off to celebrate labor. October is Columbus Day because supposedly Columbus discovered the New World.
Okay.
And November is Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then December is Christmas. And then, of course, January
Yeah.
1st is New
Yeah.
Year's. So we have...
That's a big difference between...
Yeah, I mean, there's like, I think there's like 10 or 11, and they call them federal holidays
Yeah.
because federal workers and the vast majority of state workers get the day off.
Okay, okay.
So, government offices are closed.
Yeah.
Banks are closed.
Yeah. In the stores? Shops?
Most stores and shops are open. Some will close.
Okay. But that's the same here.
Yeah.
Some shops are open on Sundays or
Exactly.
holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's something else. A lot of stores used to be closed on Sundays.
Okay.
And especially on big holidays. About the only place you could find open, for example, on Christmas Day was gas stations near the highway.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you drive, for example, as a kid, you drive through the little town I lived in, you drive down the main street,
Everything's closed.
everything was closed.
Okay.
There are Christmas wreaths, Christmas trees, Merry Christmas everywhere, but nothing was open. And to get gas, you had to get up near the
Yeah.
highway. And
you have to put your gas filled up before Christmas.
exactly. And I can remember as a kid, Dad would make sure a day or two before, because we traveled to go visit family on Christmas. So Dad made sure a day or two before he filled the gas tank up. But here there aren't as many holidays. But for example, Second Christmas, we don't celebrate Second Christmas.
Okay.
The holidays for Pentecost and Ascension,
Yeah.
we don't celebrate those.
Okay.
And I think part of that is the fact that those are considered somewhat Catholic
Yeah.
holidays.
Yeah.
And so they're not celebrated. They're celebrated by those religious communities,
Yeah.
and other religious communities celebrate their holidays as well.
Mhm.
But they're not nationally recognized.
Okay.
They might be recognized by a city or
Yeah.
by a business,
Yeah.
but not necessarily by the population at large.
Okay. And well, that's a big difference.
Oh yeah,
And did you have? I hope I pronounced it good. Prejudice.
prejudice.
Prejudice. Did you had a prejudice about Holland before you came here?
No,
No. Not at all.
I guess the word I'm looking for is I had preconceived notions before I even met my wife.
Yeah.
Windmills, tulips, wooden shoes, and cheese.
Yeah.
and little girls running around in strange dresses. But that's because I had never looked into the country.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure, you know, and I even had a little bit of, I was in the United States Army. One of my assignments when I was in the United States Army was Korea. Well, I had these preconceived notions about Korea.
Okay.
You know, strange-looking women wearing
Yeah.
these strange dresses. You know, it's all the preconceptions.
Yeah.
Because in America, we don't really look deeply necessarily at other countries. You know, I did a research paper in high school. It was a 2-page paper on the country of Australia.
Okay.
But, you know, the guy sitting next to me had Austria. The guy next to him had Belgium. Somebody probably had the Netherlands. You know, and you know, we get up, we read these papers in front of everybody else. I don't even remember what I wrote about Australia. These guys probably don't remember what they wrote about those countries.
Yeah.
It was a world history class,
Okay.
and the assignment was our teacher said, okay, I'm going to give you a country.
Yeah.
I want you to go research this country,
Yeah.
write a 2-page paper. You're going to present it in front of the class in like 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Okay.
So, you know, we all went to the encyclopedias. This is how long ago it was. The internet didn't exist. And we copied everything that was about Australia straight out, you know. And, you know, I'm sure that's what the other guys did.
Yeah.
So I really had no idea what to expect.
Okay.
And when I started working, the way I even met my wife was I was working for a company doing computer work.
Yeah.
They had an office in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
And that office in Rotterdam would send me work. So I was communicating with that office. My
Okay.
wife was one of the people in that office.
From
So I was-
America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would send me work.
Yeah.
You know, it was stuff that they didn't have the rights or they didn't have the equipment to do.
Yeah.
They would send it to me and I would work on it. That's how I met her.
Okay.
So as we started talking offline,
Yeah.
I started learning there was a heck of a lot more than tulips, windmills,
Yeah.
wooden shoes, and found out that she didn't own that dress that I had seen in all the traditional,
Yeah.
you know, pictures. So yeah, and there was also sort of a little bit of that, the red light district,
Yep.
the fact that coffee shops
Yep.
were sold weed. I saw that as I got older.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was what I heard because obviously being in the U.S. Army in the 1980s, we still had a huge presence in Germany and a presence here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So I served with guys that had
Been
either
here.
been assigned in Germany
Yeah,
or
or in the
some had even been assigned in the Netherlands. So I heard about the fact that, yeah, Amsterdam's kind of a wild and woolly city. And
everybody says, if somebody asks me where you're from, I said, Netherlands. They say, hey, Amsterdam.
exactly.
And, yeah, it's nice.
So yeah, I didn't have any prejudices against the country, but I had these notions.
No, not against, but about.
Of course, yeah. And
Yeah.
like I said, unfortunately, they were extremely limited and very stereotypical.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure if someone from the Netherlands had come to America that I had never met and I started talking that way, they would have rolled their eyes and gone, "Oh God, again?"
Yeah.
You know.
All right. In what kind of culture you've been raised? Religious culture or
Okay.
non-religious?
I was raised as a Roman Catholic.
Okay.
My mother was Catholic. I was baptized as a baby.
Yeah.
I actually went to Catholic schools for most of my education. My father wasn't Catholic, but he supported, had no objections to the fact that I was being raised Catholic. He thought that was fine.
Okay.
I was raised in I want to say a fairly close-knit family, especially on my mother's side.
Okay.
My mother's family was very big on traditions and holidays and getting together and all that. My dad's side of the family they weren't Catholic,
Okay.
although that had nothing to do with it. They were raised in a Christian tradition, most of them were. But the holidays weren't for the whole big family, it was more for the close family.
Okay. Okay.
You know, close family and
Yeah.
close friends.
And
So-
your mother's side is for the. whole
My
family?
mother's side, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was, my mother was one of 5 kids, so
Okay.
it's 5 kids, spouses, grandkids, you know, great-grandkids, boyfriends and girlfriends of grandkids, and, you know, we'd have 35, 40 people in a house
Yeah.
for a holiday
Oh.
get-together, you know. Thanksgiving and Christmas and
Yeah.
Easter were the
Yeah.
3 big
Yeah.
holidays for us in America.
Yeah.
and you know, everybody was there, and like I said, we were stuffing 30 people in small house,
Whoa.
relatively small houses.
A large turkey.
Oh yes, a very very large turkey.
Yeah.
Now, as I got older, my grandparents passed away, so that, I don't want to say forced, but that, so as I got older, that kind of, then we kind of went to what my father's family was,
Okay.
where as I got older, it was pretty much, you know, my parents, I have one brother, my girlfriend, wife,
Yeah.
you know,
All
you know,
small
and,
groups.
yeah, and maybe some close family members or close friends that were
Yeah.
like family
Okay.
would come in for the holiday.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I was raised, and that was the thing. And although divorce is very common, I am divorced.
Yeah.
My parents did not divorce. They were married. Well, they were married until my father passed away. So
Yeah.
they were married 40 plus years.
Okay. Okay.
So.
So a family was an important thing.
Oh,
for you
absolutely.
guys.
For me, it was.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, other people from America may have a different
Yeah.
point of view, but for me, family was very
Family is
important,
very-
and yeah, it was always a big deal to get together.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
for the holiday.
And you lived in an not in a big city, right?
No, Fairdale's a fairly small town.
Town.
I think the population even now is less than 10,000.
But did you have different subcultures in a small town like that?
Not many.
Okay.
There were some black families.
Okay.
There were some Asian families.
Yeah.
But that is not my particular town. That didn't exist. Now, for the larger area, for the city of Louisville, the city of Louisville is 600,000 maybe.
Okay.
It's a very large city,
Yeah.
and an extremely diverse population. For example, where I lived in Fairdale,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if I drove 10 kilometers away,
Yeah.
I could be in the middle of an area that over the years has become heavily populated with Vietnamese people.
Okay.
After the Vietnam War in the 70s, a lot of Vietnamese were brought to the United States.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were brought to Louisville, and they settled in the same neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And of course, they've opened businesses that are Vietnamese. They've had children. Their children have had children.
Yeah.
There's multiple generations now. So this area has become, although there's still other races in there,
Yeah.
it's generally known as an area where there's a lot of Vietnamese people that
Okay.
live there,
Okay.
and a lot of Vietnamese businesses.
Yeah.
There is a significant portion of the city of Louisville that is predominantly African American.
Yeah.
We're starting to see, as I was leaving, we're starting to see a larger resettlement of people from the Middle East that are coming in, and they're doing the same thing. They're following what's known as the American Dream. They're opening businesses. They're catering to their nationality. I lived in an apartment building for a period of time. The owner of the apartment building was Bosnian.
Okay.
The business next door to me was a Mexican restaurant that was founded and owned by Mexicans that had come to the United States. Just down the street, we had a little Middle Eastern deli that had opened,
Okay,
and it was
okay.
opened by
Yeah.
some
So
folks.
you've been raised in a town with multiple.
Absolutely,
cultures.
yeah. And the cultures have come in, and they've been accepted and
Yeah.
welcomed
Okay.
for the most
Because
part.
you've got parts in America and you've got them here, but in America you have big parts with only white people.
Oh,
and-
absolutely, yeah. And unfortunately, the town that I live in has been like that. It's
Okay.
mostly still after these years.
Okay.
That area is still mostly white. Now we are starting to see black people are moving in, Mexicans, Hispanics are moving in, and I would assume there's probably even some Middle Eastern folks that are
And,
moving
and
in.
when you were in school, did you had other cultures in your group or?
And in America, we have 12 grades.
Yeah.
First grade to 8th grade, the first 8 years, it was all white kids.
Okay.
And that was because of where I was.
Okay.
When I went to the last 4 years of school, when I went to high school, There were Asians, there were blacks that were, you know, classmates, and
Yeah.
I was involved in American football and basketball. They were athletes on the sports teams. They were in, classes and everything else.
Did
So
you have any problems with that?
no, none at all.
No. Did you learn more with other cultures?
I was raised in the 70s when I was like in the first or second grade. I was very young. There was a court-ordered integration of the public school system. I wasn't in the public school system, but there was a determination by the government that the schools were segregated, and that was considered racist.
Okay.
So there was this plan that, going by the first letter of your last name, you had to go to a different school for a few years. Because the town that I lived in was mostly white, there was a lot of racism over that.
Okay.
My father was never that way.
Okay.
And I remember I learned the word nigger from one of my playmates, whose dad was a very large racist man.
Okay.
And I used that word in front of my father.
Ooh.
Yeah. After I picked myself up off the floor because he slapped me for it, slapped me hard enough to knock me down,
Okay.
he sat me down. When I stopped crying, he said, "We do not use that word in the house," and had a discussion as best you can with a 6-year-old on why we don't use that word.
From that moment, you didn't
And
use
I
that word
never,
anymore.
ever used that
I'm
word.
going to check the camera if
Sure.
it's still running.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But that was the thing. My dad explained to me very early on. As a matter of fact, my dad wanted to have some work done to the house. He actually added on several square meters to the back of the house. And to do the concrete work, he actually hired a firm that was in Fairdale, and it was a family of black men.
Oh, nice.
And he knew that the neighbors were going to have a problem with it, and he didn't care.
Okay.
And made it very clear that they were going to do the work, and that if they had any problems, that they were going to answer to my father, not to the company.
Okay.
So that was the thing. I was raised not to see color, not to see race, not to see gender.
Yeah.
You're just a person.
Yeah. Nice.
You and I happen to have a similar skin
That's
tone.
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, because if your father didn't do that, maybe you flew the other way, and you
Exactly.
won't look that
Exactly.
way now.
Exactly. And I think
Is that one of the most important things you've learned from your parents?
Probably, because I know, as I said, my first assignment in the military after my training was in the country of Korea. Actually, my roommates, the first 6 months I was there, were actually 2 Korean men who were in the U.S. Army. They were, America has an agreement with the South Korean government that a small percentage of their soldiers come and serve with the U.S. Army rather than with the Korean Army.
Okay.
They work as interpreters, they work side by side with us.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 6 months I was there, my roommates were Koreans.
Okay.
And which was really nice because I got an opportunity to observe their culture,
Yeah.
and they were able to teach me about their culture.
Well, someone.
Oh, yeah.
Jans. Gonna
Ah.
put it on.
Sure.
You want
I think that's actually what they did was the term they came up with was they called them training officers.
Oh, yeah.
So they could still participate in everything except fires.
So, there was a little break.
Yes, next question.
We had it about what you learned from a kid and what you use now. So the good thing your daddy told you everybody is the same.
Absolutely.
Black, white, yellow.
Yeah,
So that's a
regardless of-
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Do you have anything more what you learned from your parents in the culture you how do you say it, use this day now? Maybe like respect. Yeah, you have respect for different cultures. But
Yeah, different
something
cultures,
else.
different faiths, different, and that was the thing. I was taught from a young age. Of course, like I said, my dad's lesson. He admitted as he got older, it's a little harsh, especially for a 7-year-old, 8-year-old boy. I don't remember. I was very young, but he said that was a little harsh, but I can remember that it was reinforced in a positive way all my life that everybody is equal. There's nobody's better or worse than you. And
Same with men and women.
yeah,
Yeah?
my mother was
Some cultures they treat women are lower than men.
yeah. Well, my mother was a very strong woman too. That had a lot to do with it. My mother jokingly used to tell my father that if you ever hit me, you have to go to sleep, and I have a very large frying pan.
Okay.
She actually had a very heavy skillet, and she jokingly would tell him that he would have to go to sleep, and she would conk him with it. She never did. My parents were never violent. There was never any violence. I mean, yeah, they got into arguments, and the
Yeah,
arguments
okay,
got a little
okay.
loud,
Yeah.
but that happens with
That's
any
normal,
couple.
yeah.
So, but that was the thing. My mom was a strong woman, and I guess maybe that was even a positive role model. My mother worked as a teaching assistant for almost 30 years.
Okay.
When my brother and I were old enough to go into school, she went back into the workforce.
Okay.
And actually, as it turned out, got a position within the school system.
Okay.
So, basically she was off when we were off generally, and she was at work when we were at work.
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, not perfect, but
Yeah.
but that was the thing. I always had good role models around
Oh,
me.
nice.
And I guess that was helpful. I
Yeah.
was, that,
And that's still the thing now. You look to women and other men and people like you're the same.
oh, absolutely.
And that's the thing you've learned when you were
Right.
small.
And ever since I was fairly small, I've always been blessed to have mentors in my life.
Yeah.
I was a Boy Scout in America, and our Boy Scout master was a much older man. He was actually old enough to be my grandfather.
Yeah.
But he was a mentor to all of us.
Yeah.
We could come to him, and I also found that even with my parents, generally in your teenage years, you tend to separate from your parents, and you're scared. You don't want to talk to them. And I found that I could talk to my parents.
Okay.
I was blessed with that. I
Yeah.
could talk to them about anything.
Yeah.
And the same way with my mentors, I could talk to my mentors about anything, and I wasn't judged.
Okay.
If I came and talked to them about drugs or sex or something,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh God, he's doing drugs. Oh God, he's
Yeah, yeah, okay.
having
Yeah,
sex. It was, here's our, here's our
listening
opinion, our
ear.
point of view,
Yeah.
and do whatever you're going to do with it.
Okay.
So, I guess I was very blessed in that. Now, with that being said, there was still that, and it still exists in America, that very puritanical, very, and that's something that I've had to get used to here, is that nudity is not seen as something that's horrible.
No.
On the beaches, sometimes women are sunning themselves topless.
Yeah.
That can't happen in America.
Okay.
That's just, police show up and issue
Yeah?
citations
Okay.
for indecent exposure.
But that's a big difference also.
It is. Well, and I guess because I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It didn't shock me.
Okay.
And I've also never been shocked by the human body. I was a medic for. I used to jokingly make the comment when I was in the military. I'm a medic. I've seen the human body. It doesn't necessarily impress me or unimpress me. It's just different shapes and sizes. And but America, there is still that very, very conservative, very puritanical view.
Yeah.
And here, as a matter of fact, I'm not going to try to get off on too many side tangents. It's too easy. But that's the thing. That puritanical view is still in America. I guess that's a big cultural difference.
Big.
Last year we went to the beach, and there were a few women sunning themselves topless. I didn't think anything of it. Okay, she's got her
You have no
top off.
problems
Big deal.
with-
I had
yeah.
no problem with it.
But it is a big difference.
But yeah, it is because nude beaches or
Yeah.
clothing optional
Yeah.
beaches
Yeah.
are hidden off away, and they're gated,
Yeah.
and you've got to have a pass to
Yeah.
get in, and
Okay.
the world's going to end, and here it's normal.
Yeah.
I mean, every beach is now. I mean, you start stripping down completely,
No.
people might look at you,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, here, topless, women being topless on the beach is normal.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess that's another cultural difference that I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
But then Kentucky is not near the ocean,
No.
and there are a few beaches, but they're basically artificial beaches created in
Yeah.
recreational areas.
Well, okay. I'm gonna look if I've got some
See what
other
else we need to
questions,
come
but
up with.
I think the time is also
A factor, yes.
yeah. Yeah, you've told me some traditions about food and your
Yeah.
childhood, and I think we're gonna
Okay.
wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we got into the
Thank you
culture of
very
difference.
much, and I've got something for you
Glad to be of help. Oh, thank you.
because I've heard you've liked stroopwafels
Yes.
from the bakery.
I love stroopwafels.
So
yes,
thanks, for
Yes,
the interview,
thank you
helping
very
me
much.
for my school project.
absolutely.
Right. Thanks.
You know that. Glad to be of help.